Now, traditionally, hardcore gamers have sometimes been stereotyped as lazy or unmotivated, the polar opposite of, say, elite athletes. But those perceptions could be changing, at least in the US. The US government will now officially recognize the online game League of Legends as a pro sport, with all the various protections that affords elite gamers who make their living competing in high-stakes international tournaments. So we caught up with David Philip Graham, gaming commentator and attorney specializing in video games and entertainment, for a chat about what this means for the industry and whether video games should really be considered a sport. Hey David, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So explain to us in practical terms what this means that the US government is recognizing gaming as a professional sport.
So one of the major things, and I think one of the reasons that they wanted this to happen, was that now professional gamers can get a P1 visa, which allows them to compete at a certain level. In order for this to work, in order to get the visa, you have to be competing at a certain internationally recognized level of gameplay, and that's how it's always been for athletes. But now, for the first time, it's extended to video gamers as well.
Wow. So where else in the world currently is this recognition in place?
Not that many places. A major spot is in South Korea. That's kind of been the major hub for video gaming competitions. I know that there are some other places that have some kind of state-sponsored or state-recognized gaming level of play and visa stuff. I think that Taiwan is an example. There's an island in the Caribbean called St. Martin that has a similar kind of thing, but it's very rare.
Yeah. So I know that probably to a lot of people out there, professional gaming sounds like a pretty awesome gig to have. What does it take to get to that level?
It's like getting good at anything. You have to have some talent at the start. You have to have the drive to do it. It takes a lot of work. I know some professional gamers personally, and it's a job to them. They wake up and they study their craft for 8 to 10 hours a day, and it's not an easy thing.
So, I'm sure just as many people out there are kind of like, what? Video gaming isn't a sport. There's no athletic skill involved. It's the athletic or value isn't that obvious to most people. I mean, what do you see as kind of the definition of sports, or how does that include gaming in your opinion?
I don't think it does include gaming. I think that video games are not sports, and I think it's. I'm happy that the visa situation is working out. I'm a little disappointed that it had to work out by getting fit in as a sport. I'd like to have video games recognized as something that's legitimate on their own terms, not to have to kind of appeal to legitimacy of sports. Video games are a major thing, and I'd like them to just kind of be on their own. But as far as the difficulty of it, certainly there are some similarities with sports in the way that you practice and in the way that you compete. There are similarities, so I understand the appeal of using sports terminology, and I guess if it gets this done, then that's fine. I do think that it can be a little bit dangerous. There are other things that the government likes to regulate in sports that have never been regulated in video games before. Title IX in collegiate, I guess, esports might become an issue. For example, there are other issues with who can be an athletic, or now I guess a video game trainer or a coach or a manager or an agent. In some states, you can't get employment insurance if you're an athlete on the off season of your sport. So how would that come into play for video gamers? There are lots of questions.
Huh, interesting. So maybe a better analogy in terms of the sporting definition would be something like poker. I don't know what the classification for poker is, but similarly, it's a competitive industry in and of itself, kind of.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the specifics of law in poker. Lots more to do with gambling, obviously. But again, I'm most in favor of video games being video games, and of the people who play them being celebrated for being excellent video gamers, not being celebrated for something that I don't think that they are.
Yeah. All right, well, very interesting stuff, and thank you so much for talking with us, David. You can follow more of David's work on Twitter at UltraDavid. So what do you guys think? Should gaming be considered a sport? Why or why not? Let us know what you think in the comments. For TFN, this is Annie.